Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Bugbears and Brews. I'm Brian, and today we're going to be talking about our 45th encounter for the Out of the Abyss campaign, the Demon Lord Royal Rumble. So this was a big battle between all the Demon Lords that are up on the material plane at the moment, and the characters handled those Demon Lords. And it was pretty different than anything we've done in the past. I don't think I've really had character or players run monsters before, so it was an interesting learning experience, and I think everybody in the end had a lot of fun, and it was a lot more. It went a lot smoother than what I thought after reading some horror stories about it, and as well as getting some advice from the other DM that ran it the week before I did. So, starting with where the Royal Rumble took place. It actually took place in Minzo Bruns, and regardless of the threats from Draxel and Bruggen to Earth, that they will hunt you down and do whatever they can to stop this, because leading up to this, Devere and Darnella kind of created a secret relationship, love-hate relationship between each other, where they both really hated each other, but they hated the Drows and Minzo Brunson far more than they hated each other, and they both wanted to see Minzo Brunson pretty much burn. So when the party originally went to Minzo Brunson, Darnella found a place to hide the medallion and didn't bother to go back and get it or correct the situation after the threats were made. Hearing these threats, Devere and Darnella thought, you know what, let's go ahead and send the party to Minzo Brunson underneath the guise of recruiting additional allies for the fight to come. But when they got there, Darnella led them to the bazaar only to see that the summoning was just being completed and the demon lords were popping into place. With that, the characters took a kind of backseat to the demon lords. I did let the players know that if there's anything that their characters wanted to do mid-combat, let me know. We can get something worked in there, but I also warned them that you don't want to draw a lot of attention to yourselves because these are a group of demon lords fighting each other. Getting tossed into with one demon lord is bad enough. Getting tossed into a fight with 7 of them, not exactly great. So the makeup there for the fight itself, I had, I think, altogether 7 demon lords. Derek ran Yinigu. Forgive me if I mispronounce any of these. I actually ran Baphomet. I wasn't planning on running it, but we had 2 people not able to make it. So we stole Derek from the other table, and then I took up the other demon lord. So that way we had 7 out of the 8 demon lords. Fraz Herblu was ran by Sean. Jublix was ran by Mark. Zictamy was ran by Shane. Demigorgon was ran by Tom, and Orcus was ran by Trevor. I think everybody did a pretty good job memorizing the skills that they had and remembering the legendary actions and all that. I had a nice little tracking sheet made up to track legendary resistances and legendary actions to make sure I was catching all those on time appropriately and making sure people knew when they used theirs up. Tracking so many of these legendary actions, I think it would have been easier if I would have tracked them by round versus individual player turn, but it's not a big deal. Looking at the fight itself, there's a lot going on there. I did mention that each of these demon lords has another demon lord that they hate, so that kind of gave the player some focus. Like Yinigu and Baphomet, I said, hated each other more than any of the other demon lords together. Fraz hated Grost, but Grost wasn't there. Jublix and Zigtamy hated each other, and then Orcus and Demigorgon hated each other. So like I said, that kind of helped drive the players onto who they should be focusing on during combat. Not saying that they didn't go for other people, because Fraz was pretty much an open agent, and then Orcus had a lot of AoE skills, so Trevor running Orcus actually spent most of the fight in the air, kind of taking him out of harm's reach. Kill orders and all that and kind of highlights, I'll go over that. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because there's a lot of combat, so I don't want to spend a lot of time saying, oh, this guy did this guy did that. I'll just kind of point out some cool things that happen here. Yinigu was the first to die. He was killed by Demigorgon. He did dish out a lot of damage to Demigorgon, though, on his way to Baphomet. So he stopped by Demigorgon because Demigorgon was the closest one to him, hit him a couple times with the flail, and then attempted to head off, and they got Demigorgon and Yinigu kind of got in a tangle while Baphomet started chasing towards them. The flails, I think that attack is really wicked. It was nice to see that utilized there. You know, seeing all three of the flails hit on one time. Even though these Demon Lords had some, you know, some higher saves, I think Tom failed to save once or twice with Demigorgon and actually wound up having to blow a legendary resistance to negate some of the effects there. But like I said, it was nice to see like the burst damage. I thought that Yinigu was kind of going to be a little bit of a I don't want to say a pushover, but I didn't expect him to be such a hard hitter as he was. But like I said, he was actually the first to die because of picking an attack or picking a fight with Yinigu, and then myself playing Baphomet chasing in after him. And the next one out of the fight was actually myself with Baphomet there. I wound up actually doing a decent amount of CC because Orcus, nobody had reached to it, and Fraz, the only other character or only other Demon Lord with flying at the time, wasn't caring about Orcus, which kind of perturbed some of the other players when they were trying to. I like it, you know. Fraz had his own agenda and had no expectations of going up and tangling with Orcus, and then preferred just to kind of feast on the weaker targets or some, I don't want to say feast, but go after the weaker targets. So what I actually wound up doing is casting Maze a few times on Orcus. And even though Orcus got out of the Maze each time, that essentially took him out of the rounds for legendary actions and had to make him waste his action to get back into the fight, which I was hoping Jublix, I role-played it as Baphomet trying to work a little bit of what's it called, alliance with Jublix and a couple of the other Demon Lords to say whenever Orcus comes back in, lay waste to him. However, it didn't really go so well. It would have been really nice if Faz did get up there eventually, but it took some convincing for that to happen. So in the end, though, Baphomet did not actually die. I got down to 39 hit points looking at the sheet here, and instead teleported away. So Baphomet is somewhere up on the material plane still, walking around doing who knows what. Fraz was played by Sean, like I mentioned. There was a bit of confusion about what skills benefit the combat with this one here, where the Demon Lords are immune to so much. But once we got him on the right track, I think he did a pretty good job. I didn't use his legendary actions that much. The tail would have been a bit more impactful if there was Demon Lords that weren't as large as they were. I think all the ones that he was fighting were huge or larger, or were huge. So none of them were medium or large or smaller. Sorry, is what it is. And he was killed by Orcus because eventually Fraz did go up and try to tangle with Orcus, and Orcus said, I'm not playing that, and nuked him. Then Jublix was the next one to die. Mark played Jublix. Jublix was another one that really surprised me. I think the regeneration on this creature really helped sustainability. And then I think he had 2 or 3 Eject Slime recharges in a row, and that Eject Slime was just a lot of damage. But him and Zigdami kind of toughed it out with each other, and that was really cool. And in the end, though, Jublix actually didn't wind up dying to any Demon Lord. When Jublix turned into a pile of mush, more mush than what he already was, Draco ran in with Dawnbringer and charged, did a nice, Legend of Zelda 2 downward stab with Dawnbringer and wound up actually getting a critical hit. Shortly after that, the very next turn, Draco died to a Finger of Death. So much for that. There's plans for Draco. I'll cover that here at the end, though. Zigdami was the next one to be killed, which was killed by Demigorgon. Zigdami spent a lot of the fight in the ethereal plane and was instead using the minions to fight. I thought this was a pretty smart tactic, but there really wasn't a lot of damage that this guy can do. I was really disappointed by this Demon Lord, and if I do it again, I'd take out Zigdami and put Grast in instead. So Grast I thought would have been a pretty cool one to have in there as well, but I wanted to go with this pure random who got what. So even though I did offer people to change their Demon Lords if they didn't like it. And then it comes down to the two heavy hitters, Orcus and Demigorgon. We kind of expected Demigorgon to be the leader of this fight going into it. However, Demigorgon wound up dying to Orcus. So I think that a lot of it dealt with the fact that Orcus was ranged and up top a lot of the times with the fighting or the flying, and then Yinigu really laying into Orcus in the beginning there as well, or not Orcus, Demigorgon. And then towards the end there, Orcus actually summoned quite a few undead. Let's see here, 3 liches and a demi-lich to help take out Demigorgon. So that leaves us with Orcus that we're going to fight. Looking here, Orcus has 160 hit points left. I'm going to be changing that number some. I'll take a look and see what they suggested in the campaign for Demigorgon and try to balance that out. And as well as, we also have 3 liches and a demi-lich hanging around as well. So I got to try to balance that out to make sure that the party's not absolutely going to get nuked. While it'd be sad to see a total party kill on the last encounter. And this is taking place in Minzo Brinzen. So there's a lot of things going on there, a lot of people gathering around. The one thing I did also do, because people were starting to spread out a lot, is I said, hey, look, if you get off the encounter map, which I had a really large encounter map, it's the town square / marketplace from the Murder in Boulder's Gate campaign. So it's a bit bigger than a standard map. I think it's maybe 40 by 20, maybe 40 by 25, somewhere around there. It's larger though, and I really like that map. I said if you get outside of this play space, you're going to start getting pelted by arrows and wizards and whatnot, so you're going to take 25 hit points as the fight goes on if you're outside of that area. And then as time went on, I said this area is going to get smaller and smaller because people are starting to gather in and see these demon lords die, and the targets are getting fewer and fewer, so they can start pegging them a bit more. As for Draco and being dead, I don't like the fact that he's dead on the last, going into the last encounter. However, Mark, who plays Walker, our druid, said, you know what, I actually already have reincarnation prepared, so can I cast that on him? I'm going to go ahead and allow it. Regardless of Draco being a zombie right now because of Finger of Death and Orcus killing him, I think it's much more fun to just ride it out and see what Draco comes back as. Because last time we used reincarnation, the character actually came back as the same race. I don't think we're going to get that lucky again, but who knows? So, yeah, like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this plays out. Let me know if you liked this and if you ever had characters do any sort of large battles with this with higher tier monsters. I think the lowest CR on any of these guys was 22 or 23, so they're much higher monsters. And then if you have ran this in the past, what worked well, what didn't? Like I said, I think the track sheet really worked out nicely to help keep things rolling. And then we also did take average damage, which I think really helped speed it up. So yeah, it sucks that players didn't get to roll as many dice, but it really helped speed this up. And we got through the encounter in about 2 hours, and hearing other people say it, they've gone to 3.5, maybe even 4 hours. I think the guys on WebDM said that theirs took all 4 hours or something like that they played. So it was nice to get this done in about a 2-hour mark of total combat time. So thanks, and I will talk to you guys again later next week. Bye.